Have you ever quietly wondered, is masturbation still safe at this age? Maybe it was after waking up with a slight ache in your lower abdomen. Maybe it was the restless sleep that followed. Or maybe it was just a sense that something felt different afterward, but you didn't know who to ask, or if you should ask at all. When we're in our 60s, 70s, or even beyond, we're no longer here to prove anything. We're here to understand ourselves, to have just enough strength and clarity to keep walking slowly, but steadily in both body and spirit. And there are things, very personal things that are still very real, but rarely spoken out loud. Masturbation is one of them. It's not wrong. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but it also shouldn't be done mindlessly. Repeating old habits from when we were younger, because the body now is different, more sensitive, more in need of gentleness. If you've ever asked yourself, am I still doing what's right for my body, then perhaps now is the time to take a step back and look again. Not to stop, but to do it more wisely, more in tune with who you are today. The good news is you don't have to change everything. Just by understanding a few small things, you can quietly avoid some of the hidden risk infections, poor sleep, emotional strain, and even added pressure on your prostate. And that's why I'm here today to share this with you honestly and sincerely. As someone from your own generation, if you're still with me, stay just a little longer, because maybe, just maybe, what you're about to hear will help you feel a little lighter. Not just in your body, but deep within. There's a small habit many people still hold on to, delaying the urge to urinate right before a private moment, thinking, I'll just wait until afterward. And honestly, it's understandable. After spending a lifetime learning how to hold things in emotions, discomfort, even basic needs, it becomes second nature to ignore the body's smaller signals. But then one day, something feels off. Maybe a dull ache in the lower abdomen after touching yourself, or waking up at night multiple times, needing to pee, or a burning sensation, or a nagging feeling that you didn't quite empty your bladder. These things rarely arrive loudly, but they return, and they wear you down. After 60, the body has changed. Your bladder isn't as strong, the stream slows, and any pressure in the pelvic region, especially when aroused, can make things more difficult. When you hold it in, the urine backs up, bacteria build quietly, and your urinary system, already more sensitive, becomes more vulnerable. What's troubling is that most of us don't connect the dots. We think it's just part of getting older, but not everything is. Sometimes, all it takes is a small adjustment, and suddenly, things feel easier, gentler, safer. Taking care of ourselves at this age doesn't require big, dramatic changes. It starts with paying attention to the quiet, everyday things like going to the bathroom when your body asks you to. If you've ever felt a heavy sensation in your lower belly after a private moment, or had nights interrupted by multiple trips to the bathroom, you're not alone. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes simply hearing from someone else helps us understand ourselves better. And once we feel lighter about this small but important thing, let's move on to another habit, one that many men still carry from their younger years, but that, over time, can dull the very sense of connection we long for most. There's a quiet shift that many don't even notice. The way our body responds to intimacy just isn't the same anymore. Back in our younger days, everything was fast, intense, and for a long time, we believed that's how it was supposed to be. But now, in this season of life, when every part of the body is naturally slowing down, those old rhythms can begin to feel exhausting. It's not always easy to admit, because to say it out loud can make us feel like we're no longer the man we once were. Sometimes it even stirs a quiet doubt within, but the body speaks in its own way. It stops responding like before. The sensations dull, and when we try to rush or apply too much pressure instead of release, we feel strain, tiredness, even discomfort. Some have come to call this the death grip syndrome. It's when, over time, we've conditioned ourselves to respond only to one very specific kind of touch, fast, hard, focused. And the trouble is, once the body adapts to that, it stops responding to anything softer, anything more natural. But the real loss isn't just physical, it's emotional. That subtle disconnection from our own feelings. Even when we're alone, or in moments of closeness with someone we care about. The good news is this isn't the end of anything. In fact, it's a gentle invitation to slow down, to adjust, not to do it less, but to do it in a way that feels true, here and now. At this age, sometimes all it takes is a lighter touch, a slower breath, a bit of patience. No need for pressure, no need for speed, just presence, true presence. After all these years, our bodies have carried so much. They don't need to be pushed anymore. They simply need to be heard, to be understood, and to be loved in a way that's slower and far more kind. If you've ever felt like you've stopped feeling, try stepping back a little. Don't just follow the same old patterns, see if a new rhythm brings you back to yourself. And if you've gone through something like this, I invite you to share it below, because your story, just like mine, might be the thing that helps someone else feel a little less alone. And once we've come to understand rhythm, the next step is to look at frequency, because more isn't always better. There's something many of us overlook. Desire may still be there, but the body's ability to bounce back after moments of intimacy just isn't what it used to be. After 60, the body stops sending clear messages. It doesn't speak in words, but in subtle signals. Maybe it's that lingering ache in your lower body. Maybe it's the shallow sleep that follows, or the mornings you wake up drained without knowing exactly why. At first, you brush it off, but when it happens again and again, you start to feel the weight not just in your muscles, but in your spirit too. I know, there are lonely evenings, quiet afternoons, and sometimes we just want a small, private moment to ease the ache inside. It's not always about strong desire anymore sometimes. It's just habit, something we've carried with us for years. But gradually, you may start to feel something is missing. The moments don't feel whole anymore. There's a subtle emptiness, a feeling that lingers. Science talks about hormones, about falling testosterone, about how the nervous system becomes more reactive as we age. But the truth is, we don't need research to tell us what our body already knows. When you feel tired after doing what once brought relief, that's the body asking for a change. Masturbation isn't wrong, and there's no shame in it. But at this age, the body doesn't care about how often, it cares about how gently, how meaningfully. Each time should feel whole, unrushed, intentional. Don't let it become a repetitive reflex, driven by passing feelings or old patterns. Recovery now takes longer. Each part of the body needs more time to rest after release. And when we push too often, we trigger imbalances, a restless mind, poor sleep, emotional swings that we can't always explain. If you found yourself losing interest, struggling with sleep, or simply feeling empty afterward, maybe it's time to step back a little. Let your body set the pace, not your habits. And if any part of what I just shared resonates with you, feel free to leave a quiet comment below. You'd be surprised how many others are walking the same quiet path. Once we've made peace with our rhythm and frequency, the next step is learning how to wind down afterwards so the body can soften, the mind can rest, and we don't carry the invisible weight into the night. There's a habit many of us still hold on to, something that seems harmless enough. Masturbating right before bed, then lying down right away, closing our eyes, hoping for sleep to come easily. But at this age, the body doesn't work the way it used to. There are nights when, even if we feel tired, even after trying to relax, sleep just won't come. We toss, we turn, and sometimes we wake up in the middle of the night with a strange discomfort in the lower abdomen, not knowing why. The truth is, after ejaculation, the body needs a little time to reset, to regulate heart rate, blood pressure, and circulation. In our younger years, this transition was quick. almost unnoticeable. But after 60, the body needs a bit of help to shift from excitement to full relaxation. When we lie down immediately afterward, blood still pools in the pelvic area, pressure on the prostate remains, and the nervous system hasn't yet switched off. The result, our body is caught in between, not fully awake, not truly asleep, and by morning, what lingers is that familiar ache, fatigue, maybe even a stinging sensation when we urinate. What's important to realize is most people don't make the connection. We chalk it up to age, to chronic insomnia, or something else entirely. But sometimes a small shift can make a big difference. Instead of lying down right away, give your body a few quiet minutes to cool down, a slow walk around the room, a sip of warm water, a few deep breaths in the stillness of night. Simple things, but enough to tell your body it's safe, it's heard, and it can finally let go. We're not young anymore, but that doesn't mean we've lost the right to deep, restful sleep. If anything, it means we need it more than ever, and we must learn how to welcome it with care, not with force. If you've ever felt more tired the morning after, or sensed a vague discomfort below, try shifting the way you end your nights. And if it helps, I invite you to share in the comments, so others from our generation can find a gentler way too. Now that we've learned how to help the body unwind, it's time we paid closer attention to the silent signals it sends, because sometimes the prostate doesn't speak loudly, but it speaks nonetheless. Some changes in the body don't come like a storm. They slip in quietly, passing, subtle, but if we don't pay attention, the consequences can linger long into the future. Many of us have gotten used to tolerating certain discomforts. A dull ache here, a weak urine stream there, the occasional pressure down below, and we write it off, telling ourselves, this is just what happens with age. But the truth is, the body never speaks without reason. When your lower abdomen begins to feel heavy, when urinating no longer feels smooth, when it seems like you're done, but your bladder still feels full, that's the body asking you to pause, to listen, because often it means your prostate may be inflamed, a little swollen, or under too much pressure, especially if you are continuing your old private habits without adjusting for the way your body feels today. At this age, the prostate is like an old valve. It's still working, but more sensitive than before. Even a small amount of friction or stimulation at the wrong time can set off a chain of quiet reactions. At first, it's just a bit of discomfort, but if we ignore it, if we don't rest, don't change anything, those minor pains can become familiar companions we never asked for. The sad part is that many people only see a doctor after the problem has gone on far too long. And by then, things are no longer simple. Treatments at this stage of life aren't like they were when we were younger. Every prescription, every appointment comes with its own fatigue, its own quiet worries that only we know how to carry. That's why, when the body begins to whisper, we must listen. Don't wait for it to shout. Take a break if something feels off. Pause a routine if your body isn't responding the same. Ask your doctor if you're unsure. This isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the mark of someone who's learned to slow down, not to stop living, but to preserve what still matters most. Health, dignity, peace of mind. Just like we once cared for an old machine we valued with gentle hands and patience, this body of ours deserves the same kind of care. If you've ever experienced symptoms like these and weren't sure what to do, or if you felt concerned but didn't know who to talk to, you're not alone. Leave a quiet comment below, if you'd like. This community is here to listen, just as I'm listening to you now. And once we've learned to hear our body's messages, the next step is to look at what we're using on it, because sometimes the very products we trust are quietly making things worse. One use at a time. There's something many of us tend to overlook: how much more sensitive the body becomes as we age, especially in the places where the skin is thin and where years of quiet strain have quietly settled in. We're no longer at the age where a scratch heals overnight, or the immune system brushes off a few unfamiliar bacteria without blinking. With each passing year, our bodies grow more refined, but also more vulnerable, particularly when exposed to harsh ingredients. Added fragrances, alcohol-based formulas, or unfamiliar materials we might not even think to check. Some of us still carry old habits, reaching for the same gel we've always used, the same type of lubricant, or even makeshift tools from a time when our bodies were far more forgiving. But now, all it takes is one wrong product or one poorly cleaned item, and suddenly there's itching, redness, or a lingering irritation that won't go away. Some damage doesn't show up on the surface. It hides deep inside. A mild inflammation left untreated can quietly evolve into something more difficult, especially in areas we rarely check, and even more rarely talk about. And sadly, many choose silence not out of strength, but out of discomfort, out of embarrassment, out of thinking, it's probably nothing, or I've used this for years. I'll be fine. But that silence comes at a cost. The good news is we can make changes, and they don't need to be complicated. Start by reading the label. Choose unscented products. Avoid alcohol. Look for ingredients that are kind to aging skin. You don't need something expensive or fancy. You just need something safe, something that respects your body. Think of product selection as a quiet form of self-respect. When you take a moment to choose what's gentle, what truly supports your body where it's most vulnerable, you're not just taking care of skin, you're reminding yourself that your body is worth that care, that it deserves tenderness. If you've ever felt a slight burning sensation after using a product, or found yourself unsure if you're using the right thing, don't hesitate to share in the comments. Sometimes, what feels like a small inconvenience is actually the doorway to a more comfortable, more peaceful life. And once we've chosen the right product and used it the right way, there's still one more thing to care for, something even more important than the body itself: our emotions afterward. There are things no one ever taught us how to feel, and no one ever told us we had the right to feel them, especially after a quiet, personal moment with ourselves. Even now, well into our 60s, 70s, or beyond, many of us still carry a faint sense of awkwardness after masturbation. Not because it's wrong, but because we grew up in a time when such things weren't talked about. They were considered improper, shameful, even. And over the years, even though no one is stopping us anymore, that quiet feeling of, I probably shouldn't, still lingers. We don't talk about it, we don't share, and we rarely face it directly, not even with ourselves. But here's the truth. Emotions that are hidden for too long tend to turn into shame. And shame slowly pulls us away from ourselves, not just physically, but emotionally. Masturbation, when done with awareness, in moderation, and with understanding, can be a healthy part of life. At any age, you still have the right to feel your body, to connect with yourself without guilt and without needing anyone's approval. The real issue isn't the act itself, it's how we see ourselves afterward. If you often feel empty or ashamed after being alone with yourself, maybe the thing that needs adjusting isn't your body, but your own perception of that moment. When we can view it as a gentle form of self-care, like taking a slow walk, sipping warm tea, or sitting quietly with our breath, then what follows isn't guilt, but ease. That ease doesn't come from hiding. It comes from simply acknowledging, I am still me. I am still worthy of respect, even in my most private moments. At this stage of life, we don't need anyone else's permission to feel. We just need to give that permission to ourselves. And sometimes, that alone is the first step toward living with more softness, more kindness toward who we are now. If you've ever had emotions that felt too hard to explain after a private moment, or if you've ever silently asked, is what I'm doing okay? Know that you're not alone. Leave a comment if this spoke to something inside you, because maybe, just maybe, your story will be the one that helps someone else breathe a little easier on their own journey. And now, as we come to the close of this quiet conversation, perhaps the most important thing to remember is this: caring for yourself, truly caring, sometimes begins with accepting even the parts of you you've been too shy to speak about. Dear friend, we've just walked through 7 things small on the surface, but deeply connected to how we feel in our own bodies. Aging doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't ask if we're ready. It simply shifts the rhythm and asks us to learn. once again, how to listen to ourselves, starting with the most ordinary things. Maybe we used to be stronger, less worried, but now, every small change feels worth pausing for, worth noticing, so we can live a little more gently, without tension, without having to force our way through each day. What truly matters isn't what we do. It's whether we understand ourselves while doing it, whether we show up with care, with respect, even in the way we touch ourselves, not rushed, not ashamed, but with tenderness. Sometimes taking care of ourselves means knowing when to say, "That's enough." It means slowing down when we feel the weariness settling in. It means going quiet so we can finally hear what the body has been whispering all along. No one is asking us to be perfect, but maybe it's time we learned how to be at peace with who we are in the small, honest moments of daily life. If something in today's conversation stayed with you, please feel free to leave a line in the comments below. Just one sentence that might be all it takes for someone else to feel a little less alone on their path. And if this video offered you something helpful, don't hesitate to share it with someone you care about. You never know who might need these quiet reminders today. Thank you for staying until the end. I hope you continue to find strength, peace, and above all, a gentle way of being with yourself, no matter how slowly life begins to move. Because sometimes, the kindest thing we can do is simply to live honestly with ourselves and feel no guilt in doing so.